Hey everyone, I'm Tassenix and welcome back to another mod guide. This time we're covering the IG-100 MagnaGuard in the ongoing Separatist Droid series. Before we do anything else, let's go ahead and take care of the TLDR for IG-100 MagnaGuard. Set type should be defense and tenacity. Personally, I prefer 4-piece of tenacity to defense. Arrow should be protection primary or crit avoidance. There's an intelligent argument to be made for crit avoidance, but because of the way that B1 restores health to the team, and you've got Stap also stacking folks up, I definitely err towards the side of the protection primary. Alright, circle and triangle should both be prot. The cross, I do strongly recommend to be tenacity. Otherwise, it should be protection. In our turn order, I think he should be about 4th, because B2 I think is dead last. He gets like a reset, 100% turn meter gets pushed to him a decent amount of the time. So between the two of those later characters, who actually needs more speed, I would say it's MagnaGuard. And our stat priority should be tenacity until you get to about 150%. If you're up and over 150%, you might prioritize prot instead. And then if you can pick up, I guess, a little potency, that's okay. Like all of the other droids, he's going to be stacking potency under General Grievous' lead. But having enough potency to maybe land that stun once in a while isn't bad. Okay, enough on the TLDR. Let's have a brief recap of the General Grievous leadership, daunting presence. All enemies have minus 40% critical avoidance and minus 50% defense. Whenever a dark side droid ally is resisted, that droid gains 10% potency, stacking, for the rest of the encounter. Target locked enemies can't counterattack. When a target locked enemy is damaged, each droid and each Separatist ally gain 2% turn meter, doubled for Grievous. So 4% for all the Separatist droids and 8% for Grievous himself. When damaged by an attack, dark side enemies lose 5% turn meter and light side enemies lose 2% potency, stacking. Okay, so we've got that in mind. Now this mostly matters for the attackers on this team, right? A lot of benefit there, so yeah, it's just something to keep in mind, I guess, in terms of his modding, is that he will get some potency stacking. Okay, let's cover his unique first. Relentless Assault. MagnaGuard has plus 70% counter chance and gains taunt for 1 turn when it uses an ability, any ability. General Grievous and MagnaGuard gain 20% tenacity and 20% defense for each target locked enemy. Wow, in 5 versus 5. Grievous and Magna could potentially each be getting 100% tenacity and defense from this, right? That is wild. All other Separatist droid allies stealth for 1 turn at the start of each encounter if General Grievous is an ally. It doesn't even require that Grievous is a leader. Interesting for like old school combinations with like a sortie lead or something, but it's not a big deal. It's just neat that it works that way. The first time MagnaGuard reaches 1% health, it takes 1 bonus turn and then is defeated. During this bonus turn, MagnaGuard has plus 100% offense. The offense is pretty negligible, any which way you look at it. So pretty cool, very tanky unique, right? Let's take a look at his basic now. Electrostaff Assault. Deal physical damage to target enemy with a 70% chance to inflict target lock for 2 turns. If target was already target locked, MagnaGuard dispels all debuffs on itself and another random Separatist ally. So, if the worst should happen to you and your MagnaGuard is locked down and he finally gets a turn, you can't use any of your specials, you can free yourself up by having the presence of mind to use his basic to hit a target locked enemy. Alright, that's pretty sick. His first special, Disruption. Deal physical damage to all enemies and dispel all debuffs on all Separatist allies. MagnaGuard and General Grievous gain speed up for 2 turns. So this is going to be the special that you're using first every fight, and you know, even though you don't get your cooldowns reset when he gets brought to 1% health, ideally, if this was the cooldown you had available for that last bonus turn, this would do the most, right? It's pretty nice. Alright, let's take a look at his next special, Stunning Strike. Deal physical damage to target enemy and dispel all buffs on them. Then stun them for 1 turn. If no buffs were dispelled, reset the cooldown of this ability. So you could use this as a chain stun. you know, if you're choosing to use it against a buffless target. Otherwise, yeah, just use it for the dispel, and then you still get the stun regardless. I wouldn't put too much emphasis on trying to take advantage of the reset there, but it is there. Okay, team comps in turn order. As always, what you see here is listed in terms of desired turn order, not the leader. So it'll be Stap over B1, over Grievous, over MagnaGuard, over B2 Super Battle Droid. I see a lot of people have some discrepancy between how they have their speeds of these last two characters. Like I said, B2 is getting like 100% turn meter 40% of the time whenever an ally is being dodged or they are taking damage, right? So he's popping off all the time. He needs less speed, in my opinion, than MagnaGuard. So that's my position there. And then, of course, you know, details about these different 3 versus 3 comps, I will point you to the General Grievous video. But, yeah, I do like, you know, MagnaGuard sometimes here in this team. If I need B2 with Afra and I need B1 with Newton Django, then I might use GG, Stap, and Magna. But this is, in my opinion, the least of these 3 teams, okay? I know my head's kind of in the way, but you know that that's Stap in the first one, yeah? All right, let's talk about the modding then directly. Now, I compared myself to a couple other players and made an adjustment here before I recorded this. Previously, I was rocking full tenacity sets and just about 200% tenacity. I think that's excessive, considering that you've got the tenacity getting handed out by his unique up to 100%, and then you also have B1. The Droid Battalion effect on B1 says that for each stack of Droid Battalion, he's sharing out a 0.5% of tenacity, and I want to say crit avoidance as well. So that's potentially another 50% tenacity and crit avoidance for this guy. So he doesn't really need to be like 200% tenacity. 200 is kind of like the golden mark you want to go for in general when you're trying to make sure that you have the best chance of resisting. But since we get this extra tenacity from other sources, I looked at some of my peers and was like, okay, yeah, I could definitely swap away some of that tenacity and work my way towards having more defense. Because even though B2 is kind of like the primary target, you're hoping that they get stuck hitting MagnaGuard at least some of the time, right? So this guy's got to be a little durable so that he can stick around long enough to give cover for all of his allies to do the do. So, that said, I do have the protection primary for arrow, triangle, and circle, the tenacity cross. And as far as marks go, yeah, highest protection that you can go for. Between health and protection, definitely bias protection, because you're having B1 restore percentage-based health and protection, so more survivability will overall be restored through this. Although I will say that with Stap on the team, it's actually stacking max health, so, you know, it's not bad. But if MagnaGuard is going to get focused down and die, it's probably going to be earlier in the fight before Stap would do something like give him super crazy high max health. So I still would probably keep this guy going for protection, even though you have that health stacking synergy with Stap. Speed, no particular amount. I think he's, you know, faster technically than than B2, but it doesn't need to make such a difference. He's got a lot of passive benefit he's bringing, all right? And what's important is that, you know, when he does get a turn, he's able to use his specials. If he isn't stunned and we are ability blocked or something like that, we can use that basic to hit a target locked enemy and free ourselves of the debuffs for next time. But yeah, I have an incidental amount of potency thrown in at the end. I wouldn't put any particular emphasis on it. Over 150% tenacity, I strongly advocate for, like, just, you know, at least 150, and then if you have a little more after that, great. Armor, now this is a Relic 9 character, but in Relic 8, where I think, you know, I mean, Relic 8 or Relic 7, I think where a lot of folks are planning to park him, my generic rule for tanks is 70% armor. All right, that's kind of what I try to go for. Ideally, when I'm finished slicing up this last mod, maybe doing some calibrations, I'll be right around 75%. And that's a fantastic mark. He's only going to get more outrageous defense-wise from his unique and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's the kind of script here. Honorable mention, though, again, to that crit avoidance arrow, because if I had a crit avoidance arrow that had like a fat, I don't know, defense and percent protection secondary on it, I might consider that too. I used to run crit avoidance on this arrow for a long time. But like I said, I think nowadays it feels like protection's a little more meta. Still, reasonable case to be made either way. Okay, as far as counters, offensive applications, yeah, I'll refer you back again to the GG video where I went over this in some more detail. But again, dark side teams, you get to strip turn meter off them at the same time that you're ramping turn meter into your whole team, right? So you just run laps around them. Light siders, you're great at stripping off their buffs, and yeah, you're inflicting a negative potency on them. They're losing potency over the course of the fight. You're having lots of tenacity, so lots of advantages there. I think the highest calling in 5 versus 5 for, you know, the GG Stap team is taking on a GL like Leia, which historically has worked, but we just lost the Stapcron. So there will be a lot of testing come next 5 versus 5 season to see how well that works. As far as 3 versus 3 goes, let's flip that. Where's Magna featured? So again, offensively, ooh yeah, you can take on a Saw team. Saw is pretty good for 54 banners. It's actually pretty good for General Grievous. You're looking at a 57 most of the time in 3s, right? For a max banner fight. So that's pretty slick. Taking on Afra for 52. Afra could shut you down. Hondo, IG-100, Queel, these are classic great 3 versus 3 teams. Wow, even certain compositions of Inquisitors go down, like a Sack of Bricks. Kelleran teams, yeah, look at these droids, you just run all over them. The ramping is a serious threat. So even though I like this composition, especially with MagnaGuard in it, least for attack, it's still effective. Look at all this. That's pretty damn good. Okay, wow, all the way down through Iden as well. 53.5 banners. That's pretty damn slick. Okay, well, I think that about wraps it up, and this should be just about the end of the Separatist droids. There is technically one more with Droidica, but he's really not meta with this team anymore, whether it's 3s or 5s. Stap has really just taken that position, and Stap is a far superior character. So I think that wraps this one up, and the faction. Looking forward to covering the next one. I can't wait to hear in the comments what you guys want me to go after next. Looking forward to doing it, whatever it's going to be. Of course, if you did like this video, please hit like and hit subscribe so that you're sure to see more. Always appreciate your engagement in the comments and the encouraging, warm feedback you guys have been giving me about this mod guide series. So really appreciate that. I will be keeping it going. Until next time, it's been real, it's been awesome, it's been real awesome. Take care.